General Manager of the Los Angeles Rams, Les Snead, joining us right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How cool was that, Les?
That was one of the, I would put it as my top moment of, let's call it making a call, being in a draft room. And like you, Rich, when you're sitting there seeing it, I definitely had water in my eyes. I'm one of those guys that somewhat probably stubbornly prides himself on not crying too much. But there was definitely some tears welling up with Sean and myself in that draft room. Now, what's neat is when you saw our content team put the video together, and then you see, we didn't get to see Braden on the other side until the content team meshed that whole video together. And wow, here comes the water again. So pretty cool moment that came together there, coincidentally, and with a little bit of intentionality as well.
What was the intentionality? What was
well, you know what's interesting? A lot of what is that? Friday morning, we did have the intention of trying to move up to draft Braden. We had done Jared the night before. We knew he was coming to LA. So one of my top lieutenants who coordinates our scouting, James Gladstone, had mentioned, wow, if we trade up and are able to get Braden, wouldn't it be neat if he made the call to Jared? I'm like, wow, that's cool. See if it works out. Now, with that being said, that was the last time I mentioned anything. I know James then went to Sophie Harlan, our director of football operations, who kind of coordinates the logistics. Next thing I know, we made the move. Jared's on his way, and it all works out.
It sure does. And so, but in terms of, obviously you're not making draft choices for the content. By the way, if you do, two salutes, sir. That's amazing. Speaking on behalf of somebody who's creating stuff every single day. But clearly, there is what benefit is there of taking two guys who know how to play with each other already?
The interesting thing, when we vetted both Jared and Braden, what you did learn through that process was how close they were. And with that being said, both of them were, let's call it transfers up. They were both at schools that were, let's call it not Power Five. Jared the year before to Florida State. This was his second year at Florida State. And then Braden coming from Western Michigan. So I think there was a bond there. You could tell. I mean, we learned during the vetting process that they got really, really close as they worked together, competed with each other to make each other better. And then along the way, from a collective standpoint, I think I've mentioned many a times, if you're bored and you have nothing to do, YouTube the Florida State Louisville ACC championship game. We all knew the ramifications. Florida State lost their QB. They probably weren't going to the Final Four based on that. But at the end of the day, they had this Cinderella season. And to make it worthwhile, they did need to get that ACC championship, right? And those two players, along with the 9 other defenders, I'm sure some subs, you know what, they took over that game. And it was just a fun defensive game to watch. And that's kind of what you can see how those two learn to play off of each other throughout the year.
Now, obviously, they're different players, and there's only one Aaron Donald. But, I'll be straight up. You hit the defensive line twice to start your draft, and Donald's not there anymore. Is there any connection on this front?
I say, here's what we obviously, when we lost Aaron, we needed to help the D. That was intentionality. We've said many a times, we can't replace Aaron Donald and weren't really trying to, but we were still trying to reinforce the defense and continue playing quality defense. There was probably a joking a group text amongst some of us that did say that, you know what, you can't replace Aaron Donald with one, but maybe with two. And I know we circled back later in the draft and did a couple more, let's call it front five top players, whether it was OLB defensive line in our scheme. And so, well, maybe 4 can replace Aaron Donald.
So, yeah, I mean, you grab another edge rusher from Washington State with a 5th-round pick, defensive tackle with a 6th-round pick. I mean, and so those are 4 guys right there. And obviously Kinchin's getting a safety from Miami for the back end of your defense as well. When did you first get an inkling that Aaron Donald might be retiring, Les?
I think the first inkling was I think Sean's mentioned it during the season. There was a little bit of vibe that this could be it. for Aaron as he chatted with people around the building. Now, with that being said, he was having a blast in his final season, right? As we started slowly, caught some momentum in the second half of the season. He was having fun, very similar to Jared and Braden. He was evolving to work with some of our younger defenders, right? And it was just you could just tell it was Aaron Donald was having fun playing football again. But I believe he did mention to Sean after the playoff loss to Detroit that was probably it. Now we were, all football players think about that moment. Now it's time to take a little time away and figure out, okay, is it time to say goodbye? And I do know at some point into the offseason, he did sit with Sean and say, you know what, my cup is full, basically. I've had enough. I've had a fulfilling career, and it's time to step off stage.
Did you attempt to spill anything out of the cup and say, well, wait a minute, we think there's a little bit more to the cup? Give him a larger cup? Did you ever?
I did. Here's what I did do.
Cooper
I did mention to Aaron that let's call it going back to our Super Bowl run, that there was a player by the name of Eric Weddle who kind of we jumped in the playoffs and we signed him to the practice squad, and we standard elevated him for 4 straight games to a Super Bowl championship. So I did mention if we happen to get to the playoffs again, maybe we'll circle back and see. If the cup's not quite filled.
Really? Okay. So
but that's just rumor. I doubt Aaron's going to do that.
Well, I know that.
Aaron's one of those guys. He's so principled. I'm not sure if he would he might feel uncomfortable that, you know what? I didn't go through those other 18 with the guys. I'm not sure I can go through the playoffs with them. Not sure. We may tempt them. No breaking news here.
No, but you got to give that shot, and I'm sure the rest of the guys would make an exception for 99. You know what I mean?
We'll probably save that number, right? That's a good idea.
Keep that in abeyance. Yes, Les Snead here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, I've really held my
Rich,
fire here.
You're burying the lead, Rich.
Oh, you know it. You know it.
Can you reenact the emotion?
Yes.
Of the only reason we're on this call.
I mean, I'm glad that Les knows.
It's not the only reason, Les.
Just the biggest
reason. I mean, the whole Braden Fiske, I get it. Your producers and that's a good. I get it.
It's feel good. It's feel good. You're right. It got dusty a little bit in here.
Heartstrings.
But yes, when you drafted Blake Corum out of the University of Michigan, and I had not heard his name, and literally, I'm sitting on the draft set, and I'm like, the Rams are on the clock, and I'm like, they should do this. This is exactly the type of guy that would be so perfect for them in this offense with Kyron Williams, and the rest of what their passing game is so dynamic, and what he means to the team, what he would mean to the city, what he would mean to the organization. They should do this. And then I heard his name, and I just said, yes, and I slammed the table. I did. And then I called you a genius, Les. I called you a genius.
That was a first in my lifetime. Maybe first and last. But I'll take it, Rich.
Walk me through it. Why'd you do it?
Well, I can't say this. I didn't hear that live. And then post-draft, that was probably Friday night.
Yeah.
My wife, Kara,
yep.
who, y'all are close going way back. She played the video to me, and let's call it like it is. I was like, wow. We know Rich is a Michigan man.
Yes.
We know this was one of his greatest Michigan, seasons of all time. But that was real passion. So when I did play that to our group in the draft room.
Oh, you did?
They did feel the passion, but they were wondering, is the only reason you played that because he called you a genius? I said, that's a bonus. That's a bonus in this whole thing.
Cherry on top, no doubt about it. But had you met with Blake before, or what did you do with Blake leading up to this?
Well, one of the reasons we were really, really successful on offense this past year was getting back to the running game. And Kyron had a really, really, really good year. But we also know that you're going to probably need 2 running backs to get through these NFL seasons, continue running football. So Blake's always been one of our, let's call it favorite football players to watch. We thought he might go before pick 83, and we knew we probably wouldn't do a running back as early as the second round. So as we got to that third round pick, there was a lot of we had done a lot of planning to think, okay, this might be a time to trade back and grab some maybe some other ammo later in the draft and continue working the draft that way. But when we got to 83 and Blake was there, it was one of those things, as you know, Rich, just the human being and the football player combined, just a unique individual who's definitely gonna help the Rams in many, many ways.
I'm sure you heard from a lot of people you don't ordinarily hear from in regards to him, right? I mean,
Michigan has a wide, broad range, powerful, passionate, let's call it alumni base. So out of the woodworks, got a lot of texts from some Michigan people across the country. You can tell that he earned his equity there.
He did. He's special, man. He's a special dude. And his injury history, as you know, and him coming back and then leading the team with an insane number of touchdowns, but also his turkey drive in the community. I mean, you understand the importance of having somebody like that on the team, and he's perfect. He's perfect.
I would say this, Rich, we all try to rate human beings. It's very subjective. It's complex. Human beings are complicated, but how do we as other humans rate humans? But on our rating scale, he is definitely one of the, let's call it, better, higher, rare humans that we've ever, tried to rate and bet on coming out. I can tell you that. And but here's the interesting thing, Rich. I don't know if this made the draft call, but I was very, very clear to him when we called Blake, hey, this is the Los Angeles Rams, not Chargers. It's Rams. considering one of his head coaches right down the road.
That's exactly right. No, and I can't wait to see what Sean cooks up with him in this offense. Les Snead here on the Rich Eisen Show, LA Rams GM. So I'll just place in front of you the story that came out draft week about Matthew Stafford wanting some more years or guaranteed dollars on his contract. Where do things stand with your quarterback?
The thing. Here's what I can say. I know we'll keep all the nuances in house. But I think you'll hear us say a lot. We're really jacked to have Matthew as our QB, and we want him to be our QB as long as he wants to play quarterback, and he's still playing at a high level. And we definitely expect for all things to work out, and Matthew and our partnership to continue.
Okay,
sure.
And how many? I guess he'll speak for himself, but you kind of alluded to it because that's the sense we all have in the media is that he's getting up in years, and then you take a look at him, and there's way more older quarterbacks in the National Football League. But is his sense of wanting to keep doing it in question?
No, I don't think it's in question. I think I think when players get to his age, I do think that there's always a self-reflection. How long do you want to do it, right? And he's never. We all know he's in the twilight and he's in the back nine of his career, but as we saw this year, he can still play, right, with the best of them. And selfishly, I like to remind him that, players like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are, they creep up close to 40 and still like to play. So we'll continue working that for sure.
All right, last one, Les. This is something that I could have gotten to just naturally, since you did mention your wife, Caro, who I've known since the mid-'90s when we worked at ESPN together. She sent a tweet out last night that caught my eye. Be forewarned, Les, some of his top personnel brass and I were talking about you last night, meaning me, and came to a very strong scouting report conclusion and saying we call this a tease in the business. So what's up?
So I'll try to get to this quickly.
No, I don't want.
All right, so let's go this. You like to run your 40.
Yes.
Obviously, that goes, right, let's call it average to below average. And
he's an evaluator. It's okay. It's okay.
Average is probably, that's probably
generous. Generous.
Generous. Yeah. So, but point being is we, as a scouting staff or some of the personnel guys, is there's a let's call it a theory that the Rams do not care about the 40-yard dash. And, I would say this, we care, but we weigh that a lot less. So you're still on the board, Rich. But the reason I said, you know what? I've always said the reason we, let's call it weigh the 40 a lot less. And if you I think there was a tweet where Nick Saban, when he was doing his draft work, discussed, let's call it football instincts. And I believe he called it athletic intuition. And we've often said the central nervous system is really what's at play when you're playing football. It's not necessarily running a 40 where you get down in a stance. Very rarely on the football field do you get down in a stance and just run 40 yards right with it. Football is more like a video game, right? It's like Frogger. You're trying to cross the road. You just don't run straight. You got to think quickly. You got to have peripheral vision. So it all got to the way you reacted with the Blake Corum pick. I'm like, wow, Rich's central nervous system. That's it. It worked. Yes. It is so quick. I've been around you and Kara at the dinner table. I mean, it's as witty as it's get. You're so quick. So I do think you have some version of athletic intuition from a central nervous system that you could go out and play safety for Michigan. You could probably figure out real quickly, are they going to run or are they going to throw?
Yes.
You know what? Is it a deep? Is it a, and you, bam, next thing you know, Rich, take the 40 out of it, which is a debacle. Somehow you're there making
a debacle.
Somehow you're there making the play.
So I could wear the green dot for you? Is that what you're saying? I could.
You definitely green dot.
You can green dot me?
Definitely green dot.
Okay.
You can react.
Yeah.
You can proact. It's
quick
all
tricks.
happening. It doesn't matter what you do at the 40.
And I could come off the couch like Weddle, be a champion. I could do that. So maybe I got it. I'm with you. So if Aaron Donald doesn't take that potential plan down the road, you know where to find me. It's basically what I'm saying for your playoff run. We'll do that.
You there?
I'm here. How are you, Les? You good?
I'm good.
Okay,
until
brother.
we sign you for that playoff run.
Les, you be well. Great to see you. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.